Hello friends and welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm really glad you're here. If you're new here, a very warm welcome to you. If you're enjoying this fiber adventure, please consider subscribing to my channel, leaving a like or a comment, or sharing with your friends. I invite you to grab whatever project you have on the go and join me. Let's make some stuff. There's still a little time left in our summertime make-along. This make-along will go through the end of July, and there are no rules other than you make something that you would like to wear or that you would like to make during the summertime when it's warm. You can make one project or as many projects as you like, and you can share what you're making on Instagram and Ravelry with the hashtag summermakealong. During the summer make-along, I'm offering one of my crocheted patterns for free, which you can get on Ravelry or on my Etsy shop, and all the details are in the description box below. Thanks to those of you who've already taken advantage of this offer. I'm very excited to see what you make, so make sure that you tag me when you make them. Next, I'd like to share with you my finished objects that I've made during the summertime make-along. And the first is what I'm wearing. This is what I was calling my beaded camisole. This is from Black Dog Designs. And their pattern had wonderful beads at the bottom at the hem, which I decided not to put on. I also had to make quite a few modifications from that pattern, which was very well written, but was only written in a single size, and so I had to make modifications to fit my very different size. And that's more than I'll talk about today, but I may make a video about that in the future. I also used a different yarn than was used in the pattern. That pattern called for a cotton yarn, and I used this wonderful, this is a wool and silk blend yarn from Noro. This is their Silk Garden in both a solid black and then a variegated blue and green and black. This is yarn that I had in my stash that was left over from another project, so it was perfect for this small project that I made here. I also have a difficult problem with straps falling off my shoulders, so I had to come up with an interesting way to do the straps. I think it turned out super cute with the way that the lace pattern kind of scallops to emphasize that, and then bring it together sort of racerback style in the back, where it's closer together so that the straps don't tend to fall off. But other than those modifications, the lace pattern I followed from the pattern. I did do fewer pattern repeats because I was using a larger yarn, so it was my gauge was bigger than the gauge in the pattern, and also to modify based on the size that I was making. So, but the lace pattern itself I did follow directly from the pattern, and it's a fairly simple design. So there's lace at the bottom, front and back. It's made in a front piece and a back piece that's then seamed up the sides. So there's a lace pattern at the bottom, and then it goes into a straight stockinette stitch with a little bit of shaping for the waist, or decreasing to the bust area. And then the lace pattern actually on the top is only on the front, it's not on the back. But that's made separately, and it's the same lace pattern, it's just upside down, so that you make one repeat, and then I grafted it to the top of the camisole. So it's really interesting mirror effect that makes, and I really love this pattern. I encourage you to go look for this pattern yourself. It was designed quite a while ago by someone who is professing not to be a professional knitwear designer, but I think that they did a fantastic job with this. So the link for the pattern, should you wish to make this yourself, is available on Ravelry, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. I also have several other finished objects that I made during this summertime make-along. Thank you so much for joining for this and for participating in this summer make-along. I've had a lot of fun making several small patterns that I've wanted to make for quite a while, and sort of stash busting a little bit. during this couple of months. It's been a lot of fun for me. So I hope it's been fun for you as well. The first finished project that I am going to share with you, I've shared all these before, so I'll just kind of go through them quickly and you see the array of objects that I was able to complete during this summer make-along. The first one is this, hat. This is the all-day beret pattern, and again, all the links for the patterns and the yarn all will be in the description box if you want to make these for yourself. But this was a very quick knit pattern, and this is a cotton yarn that is, or cotton viscose yarn. So very drapey, very light, and the lace pattern makes it very breezy, so it's not too hot to wear in the summertime. And I have this yarn in several colors, so I might be making several more of these in the months to come. So the all-day beret was my first finished project for the summertime make-along. My second finished project was the rustic cabin socks. These socks are yarn from a self-striping yarn from Knit Picks. So I did self-striping all the way up, and then I did an afterthought heel. And if you've not done an afterthought heel, I would encourage you to check out the tutorials on YouTube by Earth Tones Girl. So easy to follow. The link for that again is in the description. But when you do a self-striping yarn, and if you use a self-striping yarn and make an integral heel, that will change the pattern of the stripes, because you're doing a back and forth part here on the heel rather than going round and round. And so in order to maintain that stripe pattern, if you just knit a straight sock and then put in an afterthought heel, then you can maintain that stripe pattern, and it just turns out super cute and has a little bit of a bullseye pattern on the heel. So that was a very simple, quick project, but I am looking forward to several new pairs of socks this year in my list of projects that I want to finish. So the rustic cabin socks were my second finished project for the summertime make-along. My third finished project is my black sparkly handbag with a sewn double lining. This project had some ups and downs, as I've shared in previous videos, but as you can see, it's now in use, very full of things, and the lining is working out great, keeping the crocheted fabric from stretching out. So again, bags are fantastic projects. I love them. I make them all the time. And they're quick and they're versatile, and you can use, they're very practical, so you can do a lot with them. I really enjoyed making this bag. I was sorely in need of a new bag, so this was a great, timely project for me. But that's my, what is this, third? That's my third finished project for the summertime make-along. And that brings us back to what I'm wearing again. My fourth finished object from the summertime make-along is the camisole that I'm wearing from Black Dog Designs. I have one final project that I'm working on for the summertime make-along. That is my iris socks. 2 at a time toe up is my standard way to make socks that I really enjoy, to do them at the same time and not have to count rows. This is, again, a self-striping yarn. This one is from an Etsy seller who is Turtle Pearl Designs, and beautifully dyed. I have a separate green that will be used for the toes. I'll do an afterthought heel again, and the cuffs. And the colors are just perfect for being reminiscent of irises. The greens and the purples are exactly the right shades, and I love irises, so these are wonderful, turning out really nicely. Really like the shifting of the colors and the subtle shades of the green and the purple in these. So hopefully I'll be able to finish these by the end of July. We'll see. I've got some other things on my plate as well for the next couple of weeks, so we'll see how they go. But this should be my last project for the summertime make-along. Next, I'd like to introduce you to an antique spinning wheel that I have. This is a Canadian production wheel from around 1910. This wheel came to live with me several years ago now. I found this advertised on Craigslist, not in the town that I live, but in a town that's about 4 hours away. And it looked to be complete from the photos that I saw on Craigslist, so I contacted the seller. And they replied, "Oh, I'm so glad you're interested in the wheel. Do you like primitive items?" And my response was, well, not necessarily. I am a spinner and I'm looking for an antique spinning wheel. And their response was then to panic a little bit, because this spinning wheel had been sitting in their mother's house for 50 years or more, and it had just always been sitting there as a decorative item. And so the seller had to go and make sure that the wheel turned and that all the pieces seemed to be there and it seemed to function when I said I wanted to actually use it. So they contacted me back and said, "Oh yes, it seems to work." And I was very naive about what it meant to get an antique spinning wheel at this time. I had a spinning wheel. I had my Ashford Kiwi that I've shown you before. And if you'd like to see those, I'll be compiling a separate set of shorter videos with my spinning wheels, so that you can go and look at those and see them spin, see them in action, with all the rest of the vlog around it. So I had the Ashford Kiwi, which is a castle style double treadle wheel, modern. So I knew the basic parts of a spinning wheel, but I didn't know what was different necessarily between a castle style and a Saxony style, or anything like that, what the parts were of an antique wheel. So I was going on luck and, you know, just an adventure to see if I could get an antique spinning wheel and spin with it. And so my husband and I drove 4 hours to go and look at this wheel and decide to buy it and bring it back home. So we got there, we looked at the wheel. It seemed to be complete, but you know, we were a bit in a rush because we had a 4-hour drive ahead of us to get back home. But also didn't really know what we were doing anyway. So we bought the wheel, brought it home, and it wasn't exactly functional, which is a risk if you're going to buy an antique wheel. I am not a carpenter or a woodworker. I've done a little bit of woodworking, very, very little. My husband used to do more carpentry, but he'd never done any work on a spinning wheel. So between the two of us, mostly him, but with some input from me, we did a few modifications to this spinning wheel to get it to be functional. It is not, our repairs are not authentic. Our repairs are not period appropriate. They are not necessarily pretty, but they are functional. So one of the things that was going on with it was that all the joins were a bit loose. We had to tighten all of those up. The wheel itself was a little bit loose, so we had to tighten up the spokes a little bit. One of them was very loose, and so we had to glue that one in place. The major problem with this wheel was that the upright forks used to have some sort of a bearing in them, either leather or beeswax or some other hard material that would keep the wheel locked in place and keep it level and even, and that was missing. So that was the main problem that made this wheel not functional. The wheel itself, because it was missing this bearing, would sit against the table and it would wobble back and forth because the two sides were not even. So the way we ended up fixing it was my husband took some steel impregnated epoxy, which gets really, really hard, but also smooth, and is a good surface then for fairly low friction for the spinning of the wheel. And he mixed that up and put that into the forks in the upright and made sure that it was level so that it wouldn't wobble back and forth too much. That, again, was the primary reason that the wheel wasn't functional when we first got it. There were a couple of other fixes that we had to do. Again, they're not pretty, but they are functional. So, as I said, the joins of the legs and all of the pieces were loose, and so the legs themselves are a little bit wider than they should be. So the treadle kind of slides back and forth between the right and the left legs, and so I put in a couple of plastic rings as spacers to sort of hold it in place, and that seems to work. Finally, there were no pins for the uprights, so it sits down in that bearing, and that holds it in place pretty well, but there are usually pins that sit above that hold it really stably in place. And so I had a bamboo knitting needle set that was the right size, and so that's what I'm using. You'll see it. It's not pretty, again. Sticks out really far, but it works. It holds everything in place. So that is what we did to fix it. Now, there are lots of reasons that I love antique spinning wheels. I love their personality. I love the character of them. I love all the little mars and dings and how you can think of what would have happened to make it like that. In this wheel in particular, the maidens appear to have been cut off, so they are not decorative at all. They are just purely functional. It's possible that the wheel was made this way. It's also possible that they were removed because they were too ornate and improper. The reason that I think they were cut off is because the spokes of the wheel and also the legs have some decorative elements to them, some shaping and wasting and interesting carving to them, and that means that the maidens don't match the wheel. And usually they have a very similar pattern of decoration from the legs to the wheel spokes to the maidens themselves and the mother of all. And since that's different here, sometimes wheels get put together from many different wheels, and so therefore they don't match. But in this case, it sort of looks like they've been sliced off abruptly. So were they not? I don't know. Another thing that you'll see on antique wheels, and you'll see on this wheel, is that the flyer and the treadle show the wear of use. And I think that is just beautiful. On the flyer, from all of the hours and hours of either a flax thread or a wool thread going through the orifice and onto the flyer and onto the bobbin in exactly the same place, that thread running through there has actually carved a groove into the wood, which is super cool. The treadle shows often the wear pattern from where the foot has been going up and down and up and down for hours and hours and 100 years. And I feel such a strong connection to the past when I use a 100-year-old machine, that I don't feel quite the same way when I use a modern machine. I love modern spinning wheels and I love antique spinning wheels, but I recognize that the antique spinning wheels are not for everyone. So if you're thinking about whether or not you'd like an antique spinning wheel, think about how much you would like to adjust what you're doing to a 100-year-old machine, because they have quirks and they're finicky, and you have to learn how to work with each machine, each spinning wheel that you're using, in a way that you don't really have to when you buy a brand new machine where everything is symmetric, nothing has been worn down. It works out of the box. You have to learn how to use it, obviously, but you don't have to learn how to change what you do to accommodate this little hitch or this little hiccup or this little thing that the wheel wants to do. And I think it's fun to use spinning wheels that are 100 years old or more. I can't get enough of it. I like that they still have function and use and usefulness after such a long time. They're just brilliant works of engineering, in my opinion. So with that said, come along with me and let's do some spinning on my 1910 Canadian production wheel. That's it for this video. Remember, you can get one of my crocheted patterns for free through the end of July on Ravelry or on my Etsy shop using the code SUM22MAL. So that's SUMM22MAL to get one of the patterns for free. I really hope you've enjoyed this summer make-along. I know I have. Thanks for spending some of your creative time with me. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!